You do, Randy?
I'm a librarian.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where do you librarian?
I am the reference librarian at the Martinsville Branch
Oh,
Library.
that's very cool. I love librarians
Yeah.
because they look at things in ways that nobody else, like library science. I mean, computers today would not exist if it wasn't for librarians,
Thank you. Thank you.
right? Yeah,
That's true.
yeah. See, and I didn't even have to get paid for that one, Randy. So you're Randy or he's Randy?
I'm Randy. She's
Preston,
Preston.
Preston, like
And you're Al.
yeah, like the bird.
Okay.
Okay. Do you know what Captain Kirk? You know what Kirk means? Very good. Very good. And you know what churches do? Do you know what churches do? They kill and steal people's souls. That's what churches do.
Bingo.
Or religions. Because you can have a good church.
Yeah.
Because that's a community.
That's right.
And
That's right.
I've traveled so much. I've been in neighbors, hoods that had good churches, good people. Everybody shared and cared. But when you serve the text, that's a religion.
Yeah.
When you serve the minister, that's a cult.
Yeah.
And what brought me here was between Lexington and Asheville, North Carolina, there are more satanic murders than anywhere in the United States.
I believe that.
And an element of the Justice Department on the down low had me come and look at that. That was back in 1998.
Okay.
And up there near Bedford, some pretty not wacky, strange things go on up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of these mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains, are full of underground bases.
Yeah.
Have you ever been up to Peaks of Otter?
Yeah.
Right? Well, right along there, if you go from the Peaks of Otter and drive north,
Yeah.
you'll, maybe 6 miles from there, you'll come to a place where if you look, if you were coming the other way from Lynchburg towards the Peaks of Otter, there are all these golf ball radar domes on top of the
Yeah.
mountain.
Yeah.
And that whole mountain is full of underground, very strangeness.
Okay.
And there's a big, big highway called 81 that's down in the
Yes, sir.
valley. Well, you get off, I forget if it's Natural Bridge, I think is the exit. You get off of that and you go kind of into that town. There is a big highway. But not the road going into town. That's like a piddly little town. But this big highway that goes out in the forest and stops. Just stops. And it's like, if you were to go straight up, you can see those radar domes, right?
Right.
Well, if you go poking around up there, guys with big guns will tell you to leave. And they're all in military gear. I mean, they're wearing U.S. Army uniforms, but they don't have any. Isn't it interesting? Back in the day, they used to sew your emblems onto your uniform. Now you give Velcro, because you're not part of that anymore.
Right.
Right? Well, so guys, you're pretty smart, doggies. What do you think is going to happen next 10 years? Like, what do you guys think of 9/11? I was a union apprentice electrician on those buildings. I was intimate with every floor, right?
Yes.
And my father was in the Air Force, so I know airplanes. 757, 767 are basically aluminum thermoses with wings.
Yes.
I mean, very flimsy, right?
Yes.
And the World Trade Center, there was a skyscraper inside a skyscraper. I mean, there was a central core
Okay.
that was 80 feet by 80 feet that had steel beams as big as this, like 6 feet by 6 feet. No way does JPL fuel melt that. Those buildings were taken down by space-based energy weapons. Do you guys know about scalar energy?
A little bit.
Like Nikola Tesla.
Yes, sir.
That's what it was taken down. And and they had that kind. So end of World War II. So did you guys ever see any of the Marvel movies,
Yes, sir.
like Captain America?
I've seen them all.
Captain America, right?
Yes, sir.
Those first two movies. That's exactly what it is. Hail Hydra.
Yeah.
End of World War II. German people bombed into the Stone Age, and the Nazis, 70,000 of them, came into our government through Operation Paperclip.
Yes, sir.
Right? Werner von Braun was the poster child of that. And he was not a nice Nazi. When he was building his little V2s in the underground bunkers, they would motivate the slave labor by, if you didn't work hard enough, they would just nail you to the ceiling and let you, that would motivate the other workers.
Yeah.
And he did that.
Okay.
He was not a nice guy.
Yeah.
And so that is the government we have, and that's what we're looking at. We're looking at another red flag. So, and I would say the next red flag is going to be aliens invading our planet.
Bingo. I was going to say that.
Right? And it will be basically because the aircraft that flew into those buildings weren't even there. They were holograms. Because they said the aircraft was going at 530 miles an hour, which is the top speed of a 757.
Yeah.
But it can only do that at 30,000 feet. At ground level, the air is too thick. It can't do any more than 300 miles, if that, right?
Okay.
Maybe 280.
Yeah.
280, that airplane could not even think of going through that building. So, and we don't live in nation states. We live in a transnational, plutocratic corporate state. When you ask people, what kind of government we got here in America? They go, democracy. No, we're a republic.
That's true.
We are not. We never were a democracy.
That's right.
Right. That's like just the cosmetic. Because our country was started by rich white men. It has always. You drive around the country. It says incorporated village. Incorporated county. They're all corporations. And out there in the West, where they had all these, have you looked at the videos of those fires? The houses are turned to dust, but right next to the house, that bush is still green. It was hit with an energy base. There's a great website called stopthecrime.com.
Okay.
And another really good one is Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. Those two will send you. You like science fiction? If you go to those two sites, that will be more crazy science fiction than you can even think of. As Shakespeare said, there's more in the world than in your stars, Horatio.
Well, the most telling thing about 9/11 was the third building that collapsed.
Yes.
It wasn't even hit by an
Anything.
aircraft. Yeah. And the claim nowadays is that the stairwells were painted with aluminum something or other.
No.
That mimicked
Even
thermite.
right. Yes and no. I had friends, and I used to be a fireman, right?
Really?
And yes, volunteer fireman, upstate New York. And so it's a little house, and the only reason I joined is that 80% of the fellow fire people were women under the age of 35.
Okay.
I was pushing 40 something.
Yeah.
And, there were 28 of them and only 4 old, and two of the guys were old guys like us now. So I and these girls were adrenaline junkies,
Yes, sir.
right? So our house, all we did was go to heart attacks because there was this trailer park in our zone. And there was 2 interstates that crossed each other that didn't have a clover leaf. It just had this X. So big trucks ran over little cars 4 or 5 times a week.
Right.
So we scrape people off, right? So I saw a lot of people die. Saw a lot of things of that notion. Anyway, whenever there was an accident, there would be an investigation. No matter what it would be investigated. The World Trade Center was not investigated.
Yeah.
And so I'm a shrink. I got the paperwork, the whole thing. And one of my fellow, and I'm focused on PTSD. And one of my buddies called me up and said, hey, we're setting up a thing for the guys who are in the pit, meaning the guys who are digging up the hole looking for bodies, right? And they were so traumatized that we set up a place at Trinity Church where they could come over and talk to us and have donuts and coffee. And the air was so full. I mean, when I was an apprentice on those buildings, everything was covered with asbestos.
Yes,
And asbestos is fine as long as it doesn't blow around. But that building was atomized.
that's right.
All of lower Manhattan was covered in asbestos, and George Bush said, the EPA said, "Oh, it's safe. It's no problem." So I was wearing a bunny suit. You know what a bunny suit is?
Yes, sir.
You know, the whole top to bottom.
Yeah.
And I had a real, and so anyway, more than 20,000 people died of the aftermath of that Holocaust, and they don't even talk about it. You know, and there's so much stuff that, and nobody want, because once you go there, you then have to go back to basically who killed Kennedy,
Right.
and then you from there you have to go to 1947 when the saucers crashed
Yeah.
in Roswell.
You want anything else?
Oh, a little hot coffee.
Another hot coffee?
Yep. I'm
You
good.
want any more food? Before they run it off?
Yeah, some eggs and sausage,
Just egg and sausage?
and a little whatchamacallit, bacon if you got it. Yeah. Thank you, sweetheart.
You guys want any more before they run off with the food?
And so, FDR allegedly died of a brain tumor. But what he died of, he ate his gun because he had done so much bad stuff during World War II. And then the Nazis came and took the government over, and then the aliens were backing them, and they were like, "What the heck?" So he ate his gun. And there was a guy named Forrestal who was the first Secretary of Defense, and
Allegedly committed suicide.
he got pushed out a window because he was at a 16-story window that shouldn't have been open. I mean, you couldn't open it. So how did it get open, right? And where he landed, I mean, if he jumped, he would have landed here. But he landed out here. So they like, whee! Chucked him right out. And this stuff is so like Marilyn Monroe. She died of an anal suppository of drugs. And she was screwing Jack. Thank you, sweetheart. And so he told her all the stories. And he, let go of her, jilted her. Here, thanks, baby.
No problem.
And so, a scorned woman. And so she was going to spill the beans. No, you're both nice. Okay. A good lie. Well, that's, politicians. Our politicians are the best politicians money can buy. But why, tell me this, why does this crowd let this happen? I mean, I talk about this stuff, whoever wants to listen, I talk, right? And I preface it by saying, don't believe anything I say, but go check it out. Those two things, stopthecrime.net and architects and engineers for 9/11 truth. They'll get you down the rabbit hole. And you go down there, but nobody wants to know. One is stopthecrime.net, and the other is architects and engineers for 9/11 truth. And while you're doing that, you should put down my YouTube channel. Anyway, hey Randy,
Yes, sir.
lean back up. Take one for you and one for your buddy there.
Okay.
I've got all my. So Randy, let me see your palm. The hand you write with. Put it up like this. Well, you're a straight up guy. You lean it back just a tad. Perfect. You are ridiculously sweet, Randy. I mean, sweeter than cotton candy. And You a lot of deja vu, big time deja vu. Um, and what's really good about you, Randy, is you basically don't care, but you do care about everybody, which is a big difference. You know,
Yes,
like whatever someone says about you, you don't care. Whatever, I don't care. But you see somebody getting dissed, you'll intercede.
that's true.
Turn your hand this way. Lean it back again. Perfect, perfect. You got a lot of common sense. Are you a Cancer or a Leo? What sign are you?
Leah,
Leo. Yeah. So, that's you. And you're really good at getting the job done. You don't mess around. And like I said, you're very honest, but you don't spill the beans, meaning you don't diss on other people. You know, you don't.
no,
If somebody tells you something,
yeah.
you don't. You know what Joey said to me? No, you don't do that. You don't do that. Well, so let's see Dr. P's hand. Preston. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, put it up there. So, you are ridiculously honest. You are just, meaning, whenever a policeman stops you, you should just say, I want a lawyer. And keep your mouth closed. You just give up too much information. But you're learning because what did you say earlier? You don't let the truth get in the way of a good story, a good lie, right? Right.